Tēnā tātou te whare. Tēnā koutou I taia tinana hine o ngaro mai, mō tēnei wahanga te wahanga mō o koutou wana. Me whakaihi, me whakawehe, me whakawana I a koutou hine ngaro e whānau ki tēnei kaupapa no reira nei mai hara mai. Tēnā koutou, my name is Aaron Munro, and on behalf of the Oranga Whānau policy team from Te Puni Kōkiri, we'd like to welcome you here for session 1. We know we've got limited time, but before we begin, just a couple of housekeeping rules. Wharepaku, if you haven't guessed, down the end, by the lifts, and you'll see the wharepaku are right there. In the unlikely event of an emergency, we're going to get you to get up and walk out slowly out the emergency exit door here. On the other side, there is another door and stairs to go down. Okay? And if we do have an earthquake, of course, the first thing to do is to drop, cover and hold. Ka pai tātou? No reira, tēnā koutou. We will begin, so I'll start by saying my name's Aaron Munro. Yep, I work in Te Puni Kōkiri head office and welcome you to this kaupapa. I'm going to introduce the manager for the Oranga Whānau team, so I'm going to hand it over to Megan Somerville. No reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa.
Kia ora koutou, ko Megan Somerville tōku ingoa, I mahi ana au I Te Puni Kōkiri, he uri ahau o titohia, Taranaki whānau. Kia ora.
Tēnā tātou I te whānau, he uri ahau no ngā pui me ngā te kapanunu ki Hiratonga ko Choice Mairi tōku ingoa.
Tēnā rā koutou katoa, ko Melanie Sergeant ahau, whānau ora whānau wellbeing team, ko Auraki te Moka. Kia ora.
If we can just all, we're here to talk about whānau centred, and one of the most important things in that is actually doing that whakawhanaungatanga. So if you haven't already, can you spend a couple of minutes just talking amongst yourselves, ko ai, no here, and kind of a little bit about what your part in this world of working with whānau is, just so that as we get through the rest of the exercises, you've already got a bit of an idea of who you're talking to.
Long-term condition or
My job is working with large watches and bringing down something called yes or no. And I would certainly like to get my work more focused on it's tough for me, the material I work with at the moment, the major projects that I work with. And so I'm really here to tune my sense of what kind of information and
1 minute. Okay, kia ora koutou, thank you so much for starting those conversations. There will be other opportunities to kind of have a bit about a kōrero about who you are as we start the next part of this conversation. So as I said, I'm Megan, I'm the policy manager in Te Puni Kōkiri. What we really want you to do is to be able to go away with three things. The what is whānau centred policy? The so what, why is this important and what can you do with it? And the now what, when you walk away from here, what's your next steps going to be? So we've got the what, the so what, and the now what. As you've already heard, we're actually going to start with the so what, because that kind of makes more sense. But our most important thing is whānau. What actually is whānau? We do have these sheets that you are welcome to kind of have a look at, write on, draw on. We do also have on a board at the back is our partai questions, anything like that. So if you've got some specific questions, there are people in the team who will be able to talk that through. But if you have another type of question, want to come talk to us some more, write your contact details down, you can put on that, or if you're Flash and have the app, you can send it through the app. So the first part is really looking on this side of the page. So what is whānau? When we ran a session with this at work on Friday, someone said, well, whānau's relative. And I'm like, that's a really good way. So we kind of talk about two types of whānau. Whakapapa whānau, which is that intergenerational, there is an intergenerational connection, there is a blood link, there is something there. It could be that your great-great-grandmother and someone else's great-great-grandmother were cousins. That's whānau. We're not taking an New Zealand view of what family is. Whānau is as wide, if there's that intergenerational connection. The other type of whānau you can have is your kaupapa whānau. So your kaupapa whānau is the whānau that you have because of a certain situation that you're in. It could be that you all grew up together in a certain community, could be that there was a need in your whānau, for example, disability, where you've now got this really close connection to other people with similar disabilities, etc. That's what we're talking about when we're talking about whānau. It is both those groups. It is not just the people that you live in the same house as. So one of the first things we're going to talk through is the whānau order outcomes. And why it's really important to kind of place this within the whānau order outcomes is that these were the outcomes that were developed by whānau, by iwi, and by government. And you can see that there's 7 things around here, and it's not really a pick and mix. It is all of these things are really important. So you've got both, you've got your economic, you've got your self-managing, you've got your cohesiveness, you've also got economically secure, healthy lifestyles, confidently participating in te ao Māori, and responsible stewards of the natural environment. So this is what a whole lot of research, and when we went out and talked with whānau, iwi, and with government, this is the big picture aspirations of whānau. Often as government we're looking at, so we have a problem that we need to fix. What we're saying is, there's another way of thinking about this. Actually, how and what we do, how do we make sure that all 7 of these outcomes are also being met? If you go to the whānau-centred policy, around it we have 7 parts that we think are really crucial to think about if you're working on whānau-centred policy. So if you go to this page, they're the written things in here. You don't have to read them now, this is kind of your background reading. So obviously there are things about effectiveness is based on outcomes. It is about effective relationships, a supportive environment and an integrated system. One of the things with whānau-centred policy is that it can be quite easy to jump straight into we've got a program, we're going to work at a whānau-centred level as opposed to an individual level. And often when you start like that, you suddenly realise, actually for us in government, it's not just a program that we run out there with people that we don't know. It actually requires some fundamental shifts in government. It makes a difference in how we do what we do and why we do what we do. One of the things about whānau is that it's not saying don't think about the individual needs of people, but it's about looking at the individual needs of people within the collective of their whānau. What are the stuff that whānau can help with? What are the other stuff that's going on in the whānau that may also need some help? So this is whānau-centred. If this is what we're going for, around here is some of the things that can help you really start to think about what does it look like if you're doing whānau-centred policy. So your first kind of question, and there are going to be times for you guys to really talk about this in your groups. How are the outcomes and characteristics, how does that fit with what you're doing at the moment? Is the stuff that is easy for you? Is the stuff that goes, yeah, that part totally get, this bit haven't really thought about it. So spend some time in your groups. There will be people from the team who will be kind of sitting down to help workshop this. What we're really wanting you to get to is, if you look at these whānau order outcomes or whānau outcomes, and you look at those key characteristics, what does it mean for the work that you're doing now? And yes, it works for a policy context, but it actually works for all our contexts. We'll spend 10 minutes on this, and we've got our maestro here who's going to play some music to kind of keep the energy levels up while you're having the discussion. So this is when you can kind of turn over your page, because now we're really looking at the policy cycle tool. And if you're already there, well, you'll see brownie voice because you already know what you're doing. So one of the things we've kind of talked about was so what? Why is this really important? You know, we know that government currently has a real well-being focus. We also know that without Māori whānau really achieving and being everything that they want to be, that we can be talking about well-being till the cows come home. So the next part I really want to have a bit of a talk you through is our whānau centre design tool. So this tool can be used in many ways. There are 7 kind of questions. For those of you who are in policy, it's a good opportunity to kind of go, this is what you may need to be thinking of at different stages. If you're in operations, it's a great tool to go, policy, have you actually been paying attention to these things at all these different areas? It can also be used, a lot of you will be already working on projects that you suddenly may go, actually this could be a really good use, a bit of it like an audit tool. How can we actually go back? Now we also know, of course, that although we talk about this beautiful policy cycle and presume you start at 1 and you finish at 7 and it's all perfect, actually often we spend a lot of time going backwards and forwards. So we're going to talk through each of the parts of the tool, and then you've got another opportunity to kind of go, so how could you think you might be able to use it for what you're doing at the moment? So at the beginning is to determine the policy development approach. Why we say this is really important, because we really want you guys to think about, so what are you going to be doing? What is the overall, looking at all 7 parts of the circle, how are they all going to talk? Which leads very much into number 2, which is about the context. We know, we talked to Te Arawhiti last week, they have, since they started up, have given 79 advice on 79 different consultation that government is doing with Māori. Now you can imagine for Māori, do we really want to be talked to 79 times about possibly some similar things? And this is where the context really comes in. What already do we know? What do we already know that some of our whanaunga and other government departments or whānau hapuiwi Māori have already told us? When do those things really click in? When can we use them? The next part is the kind of the very, what you always do when you do policy, is to identify the policy objectives and outcomes. Now we could have started with this slide, but what we really wanted to talk to you first is, so if we think of the whānau order outcomes, how do we then rethink about the policy objectives and outcomes that aren't just thinking about what's wrong? How do we think about what we need to do, and how do whānau actually build their capability, and let's face it, they've already got their moe, their dreams. How can we use that to think about the next stage, which is the analysis? You know, this is kind of, we're now getting to the stage where often we're thinking about doing traditional going out and talking consultation. But what we've been talking about now is actually, analysis isn't the only time when you need to talk with whānau. There's a whole lot of other places around the circle. The next is the developing options. Now, unfortunately, we know sometimes that it's at the developing options stage that we go out and talk to communities. But the problem is, once you've already developed your options, whānau only have a small window to be able to say, it's kind of a, which is better, you know, which is there's not so much which is better, but which will make us, which is the least bad, this one or this one. So what we're saying is if you've already got whānau involved, by the time you're getting to the developing options stage, you kind of come up with stuff like the first speakers talked about today that's really going to make a difference for whānau. The next part is the consult and develop advice. How do we really put advice? How do we actually know that we're getting the right people, that we're talking to the right people, and it's not always the same people that we've been talking with? And then of course it's the implementation, monitoring and evaluation, and hopefully you guys are all going to the session next door in that room where that's kind of the big key task they're saying. So how do you look at monitoring, evaluation processes that really work for a whānau point of view, where you're not just looking at what are the individual points of individual people, but how does this help the collective? So this is, it kind of looks, you kind of look at it and go, yep, get that. If you have a look on your sheet, what we have also given you is touch points and key questions. So this can help you try and disrupt and really think about the next stages. So what we want to do now is spend another kind of 10 minutes in your group, knowing what you've had your conversation about in terms of Māori experience, Māori moimoia. How does your work, how does the work that you're doing currently relate to this? How can you either, if you're starting at the beginning, what are the things you may want to take into consideration that you possibly haven't? And if you're already down the bottom, I might just need how to use this thing. If you're already down here, then how might you use this tool as a way of going, actually, have we done all these things? And I think sometimes we will find that once you're kind of at kind of 5 and 6, you suddenly go back and go, maybe we hadn't really got number 1 right. And if we start with that again, that'll help us kind of shift some of that things to make sure we're really talking about whānau and not just kind of using the word whānau, but really we just mean anybody. So another 10-minute session, how does your work relate to this policy wheel? Sure. So we've kind of looked at the what is the tool, the so what, why is it important? This last little bit is the now what. We can always have these great dreams. I think on this table that I was sitting on over here, it's like, it looks kind of doable, but the thing is really in the, what are you going to do come Tuesday about how you might be able to use this tool? So one of the things that our team has been doing is we've kind of been coming up with this. We're running it through lots of groups to try and socialise it. What we are suggesting is, and we've got this, we have an email address that's on the poster, so feel free to email us here because then you can just contact us at any stage. What we are really keen to do, if it's useful for you, is to run workshops. And what we're kind of saying is that either we can come to you or you can come to us. So we're kind of talking about 1 hour, half a day or full day workshops. It could be that when you go back, your team's like, we kind of need to, as a team, get round this, and if you'd like us to help facilitate it, that's something we can do. Or it could be that you're like, actually, after the conversation today, I really want to use this as an audit tool for a specific project we're on. Can you come help us try and unpick it? So you are welcome to get hold of us. At this stage, we're going to try and do it just on a Wednesday, because at the moment that we kind of send the team out and they're kind of like, right, they're off to doing this, and then they're rushing off to do this. So we're saying if we can kind of do that on a Wednesday, you're welcome to book in some time. We can come to you, you can come to us. If there are other tools, so there are other tools that we're wanting to build. We've got a rangatahi project going on, and our rangatahi project are really keen to develop a bit of a case study for what they're doing using this framework. Obviously, we've got Whānau Ora, which kind of totally uses this framework. What I'd really like you to do is kind of for the next 10 minutes is really go, so where to from here? What could you want from us? What do you guys need to do for your next steps? As I said, we've got the board at the back. If you want to say, give us a ring, let's talk, or you can email us. But just kind of that really deeply, you can go back to one of your past conversations or kind of go, where to from here for us? What would make the difference? So some more music. So if you want to finish off your conversations, make sure you've got the contact details of the people. As I said, our email address is on this. It's also, if you have downloaded the app, really keen to keep having these conversations with you if there's any way that we can help you. If you think we've got it wrong, if you think that there's something we're quite missing, really keen to have that audited too. If you're working in an organisation that kind of goes, I get it, but I'm really struggling with my organisation, then also how can we help? Sometimes it's easy for another organisation to kind of come in and go, hey, what about this? So really happy to work with you. Although we are the social policy team, the Te Puni Kōkiri policy team does cover everything that's going on in government. So if you're, for example, particularly, I was talking to a whanaunga who's working in the environment, we could come and do it, but we've also got a whole team of people who do, our cultural wealth team has a whole part of it that looks particularly at the environment. So if it's more useful to bring in someone that actually has that understanding of the context as well as this program, we're happy to do that. Thank you so much for coming and joining us. If you've got any other questions in that, write them on the board. I'm going to finish really quickly with a karakia to kind of get you onto the next stage. So ki runga ki raro, ki roto ki wao, rire rire o, pai marire. So above us, below us, within us, between us, let there be peace, and enjoy and rush to your next session so you get a good seat.